During the 11.11 sales, my wife, Jessica Lynn, did something I never could have imagined. She listed me on her online store. The post read, "Useless husband for sale. $998 for dinner. $998 for the night. $99 to $998 for a month." At first, I thought it was just a prank, a dumb joke. But when I called her, she was out drinking with Ryan Stone, her old flame. She snapped, "It's just a joke. What's the big deal? Who would buy you anyway?" I stood there, phone in hand, stunned. Her voice laced with impatience and mockery rang in my ears. But it wasn't just her words. It was the way she said them, like I was worthless. Then I saw her laughing with her friends. She even added more comments to the listing. "Ugly, lazy, can't earn a penny. Whoever buys this man is getting ripped off. Please, someone take him off my hands. We'd been married for 8 years. 8 years? I thought we'd weathered storms together. I thought that meant something. But this..." Later that evening, my phone buzzed. A location. She shared it and told me to pick her up from a bar. Her usual commanding tone cut straight through me. I rushed over. When I arrived, I saw her playing drinking games with her friends, laughing freely. Radiant, careless, I stood quietly as I heard them giggling about the listing. One of them even placed an order for dinner just as part of the game. Jessica scoffed, "Why would I pay to have dinner with him? Living with him is bad enough." Ryan, sitting close beside her, wrapped an arm around her shoulders. "You don't have to, babe. You're mine now, not his." The group roared with laughter. No one flinched when they saw me. No guilt, no shame, just more mocking grins. I walked up to her, "Take the listing down. This isn't funny anymore." Jessica didn't even look at me. Ryan smirked. "What's the rush? You think someone would really buy you?" And then my phone buzzed again. A new order had come in. Someone had just paid nearly $5 million to buy me. For life. The laughter stopped. Whispers filled the air. Jessica looked shaken. "Don't worry," she said quickly. "I'll explain. And refund them. It was just a joke." But Ryan gripped her arm. $5 million, Jess. That's our dream. A new car. Traveling the world. Remember?" Jessica hesitated. Memories flickered in her eyes. Ryan leaned in close. "Are you really going to walk away from me again?" She faltered, torn. Then she turned to me cold and distant. "You always say you love me, then sacrifice for me. For once, do something useful." She wired the money directly to Ryan. I asked, barely able to speak. "Even if they sell me overseas? Even if they take my organs?" "You don't care." Jessica hesitated, but nodded. Something in me broke. "Then let's get a divorce," I said calmly. "You can be with Ryan." Everyone stared. They thought I was bluffing. Jessica smirked. "Learn how to play hard to get. Don't try this stunt again." But I wasn't bluffing. I got the papers, packed my bags, and left. Jessica cried, begged, clung to me. "Please." I realize now. It's you I love. I can't live without you. I'll cancel everything. Please don't leave. And stupidly, I softened. After loving someone for 10 years, it's hard to turn your heart to stone. We reconciled. For a while, things seemed better. She treated me kindly, spoke gently. Then, one afternoon, she asked me to pick something up from Starbucks. I waited and waited. Then a woman approached, confident stride, high heels clicking. A familiar voice, "Ethan Harbors, I'm your buyer." My heart dropped. It was Alice Mang, my college classmate. My former colleague from Seville. She had grown into a powerful, elegant woman, vice president of Mang Corporation. "No refunds," she said with a playful smile. "I believe in your value. I want you back at Mang. Help me build something incredible. You're worth far more than what I paid." She handed me a contract. Project manager, 6-figure salary, full relocation. I didn't know what to say. Then I saw it on the online shop link. Someone had commented, "An outstanding man worth far more than his price." The first kind words I'd heard in years. I returned home. My suitcase was already thrown out. Inside, Jessica was laughing. I just cried a little and he believed me. Idiot. I already spoke to the buyer. He'll leave for Seville. Ryan can move in. I opened the door. Everyone was there. Jessica's family. Ryan. One big, happy family. Without me. Ryan mocked, "Did you sleep with your buyer yet?" Jessica's mom sneered, "Boil some tea for our guest. And next time, bring gifts like Ryan does." Not shame. I looked at them all. For years, I had accepted this, being mocked, degraded. unwanted, but no more. I turned and walked out. Finally, free. I looked at them, my heart completely numb. 8 years ago, when Jessica's father fell seriously ill, I gave up a promising future in Seville to move to this small city. I took an ordinary job just to be with him, to support his treatment, to take care of her entire family. His condition was critical. He couldn't drink, couldn't eat rich food. I managed his diet meticulously, but in the end, that became their evidence that I was incompetent, and Ryan Stone, their so-called perfect son-in-law, what had he done? I let out a bitter laugh. He ran the moment things got tough. When Jessica's father got sick, Ryan distanced himself as quickly as possible. He latched onto some rich girl instead. He even threatened Jessica, once told her if she kept bothering him, he'd have someone beat her up. I never told her this. I didn't want to hurt her. Back then, I chased after her. She started softening toward me. Becoming unsure, she asked if I really loved her. Told me to kneel to prove it. I gritted my teeth and knelt. Eventually, we started dating. Got married. Jessica always thought she gave up Ryan for me, but the truth, Ryan dumped her. She just never knew. After I said all this, Ryan looked shaken, guilt-ridden all over his face. But Jessica, she just scoffed. Like none of it mattered. You think you can come between Ryan and me just like that? Don't treat me like an idiot. I know what kind of person he is, and I know what kind of loser you are. You say he dumped me? Prove it. If you don't have proof, then get out of our house. Ryan recovered quickly, smirking again. Exactly. Do you have proof? Or are you just making up stories? This is our home. You're not welcome here. Everyone stared at me with anger and disgust. I didn't argue. I simply picked up my luggage and turned to leave. As I walked down the stairs, Ryan leaned out the window, still hurling insults. Liar. Bastard. But who said I didn't have proof? Back then, when Ryan wanted to shake Jessica off, he wrote her a breakup letter. It was nasty. He wrote things no decent person would say. He wanted to prove his loyalty to his new girlfriend and made sure Jessica knew she meant nothing. I intercepted that letter. She never saw it. It had been sitting in a dusty storage box for years. Now, I pulled it out, dusted it off, slipped it into an envelope along with the divorce papers and mailed it to Jessica Lynn. She loved Ryan so much, she'd recognize his handwriting in an instant. Just as dawn broke, Jessica received the letter. Meanwhile, I was at the airport with Alice Mang, getting ready to fly back to Seville. My phone started ringing. Over and over, the caller ID flashed, Her Majesty the wife. I laughed. Bitterly, I changed the contact name back to Jessica Lynn, but the calls kept coming. Finally, I answered. Jessica's voice exploded through the phone, trembling with rage. Ethan Harper, what is the meaning of this? Before, she had always been the one pulling my emotional strings. Her words could make or break me. But now, I had finally reclaimed those strings. I spoke calmly. You saw the letter. That's what it means. You wanted proof. I gave it to you. And I want a divorce. Jessica let out a cold, sharp laugh. In your dreams. I'll never agree to a divorce. Even if you're sold off, you're still my dog. And another thing, you think that fake letter can ruin things between me and Ryan? Even if I didn't like him, I'd never like someone as pathetic as you. Her words cut, but I just laughed quietly. She didn't realize it, but her voice was shaking. Full of fear, she was cracking. Deep down, I said, you know that letter's real. You're just being stubborn. You keep blaming me for breaking you and Ryan up, but when I confessed to you, you had a choice. And you chose me. Doesn't that mean you were already falling for me back then? You've just been in denial for years. There was silence on the other end. Then, I heard a hitch in her breathing. I was about to hang up when she spoke again, her voice unsteady. Is that buyer next to you? Put her on. I want to talk to her. I looked at Alice instinctively. I was worried Jessica might say something reckless. I hesitated. Before I could decide, Alice plucked the phone from my hand and smiled. Hello. This is Ethan Harper's buyer. How can I help you? Even though I didn't have the speaker on, I could hear Jessica on the other end. She sounded like she was holding back tears. I'm sorry, she said. I was immature. Can we talk about this? Let's cancel the deal. I'll refund you. Alice smiled, but her words were firm. No can do. I'm very satisfied with my purchase. If you insist on canceling, you'll need to pay 10 times the original amount in penalties. And besides, if you don't want him, why not let someone else who does have him? Win-win, right? Jessica said something else, her voice pleading. Then Alice's expression shifted, just slightly. A glint of something sharp entered her eyes. Do you really not remember me, Jessica Lynn? I blinked, confused. Alice wasn't looking at the phone anymore, she was looking directly at me. Back when you had eyes only for Ryan, and Ethan was quietly pursuing you. I liked him too, she said. You even mocked me. Said Ethan Harper would never look at someone like me. Don't you remember? It's me, Alice Mang. There was stunned silence on the line. I stared at Alice in disbelief. She had liked me all along. Jessica had known, and I'd never once heard about it. Then curses erupted on the other end of the line. Alice calmly ended the call and handed me back the phone. She tugged my sleeve. Let's go. Still dazed, I followed her toward the check-in counter. Suddenly, a taxi screeched to a halt outside. Jessica burst through the airport doors breathless and crying, Ethan Harper, I won't let you leave. Her makeup was smeared, her face soaked in sweat and tears. She stared at me like her world was falling apart. You can't go with her, she sobbed. If you leave, I'll never see you again. I used to crumble at her tears. It was because I couldn't bear to see her cry that I left Seville to help her father, to take care of her family, to support them. But now, looking at her, all I could think of was the last time she cried when she begged me not to divorce her. Was this the same act again? I didn't want to gamble on it. Not anymore. Why are you crying? I asked, smiling bitterly. Isn't it normal for me to leave with her? After all, you're the one who sold me. Jessica froze. The light in her eyes dimmed, as if something inside her finally broke. I turned around and walked away without looking back. The plane took off. I watched the city shrink into a blur beneath the clouds. For the first time in years, I felt free. Alice sat beside me, smiling gently. She patted her shoulder. Need to cry? You can lean on this. Don't worry, I won't laugh at you. Crying helps, but I shook my head. I didn't feel like crying, just lost. I figured once work started, I'd be too busy to feel this way. Still, there was something I couldn't stop thinking about. What you told Jessica earlier, was it all true? Of course, Alice said. Why would I lie? She really had liked me back then. I flushed, remembering everything, college, work, those quiet moments. I laughed awkwardly, but that was so long ago. You can't still like me, right? Alice just smiled mysteriously. What do you think? The day after we landed in Seville, Alice helped me find an apartment. Then I started the new job. She personally introduced me to the team, calling me the project manager. She had handpicked some people. Not all were convinced, but I didn't care. I was used to being looked down on, yet surprisingly, they all treated me with respect. At the very least, they called me Mr. Harper. I didn't understand it at first. Then, during a meeting, I noticed it before making any decisions. Alice always asked for my opinion. She included me in everything, and in that moment, I realized they respected me because she did, just like how no one respected me before because Jessica never had. Finally, I felt like I could stand tall again, and I was determined to prove myself. The project moved fast under my leadership. Performance skyrocketed, and with that, I finally earned their full acceptance. During a team dinner, someone approached me, whispering, Mr. Harper, is it true? You're the one director Alice never forgot? I blinked. What do you mean? There were rumors, someone explained, that she had a secret old flame, never dated anyone else, even mumbled a name when she got drunk at a party. Could it really be you? I glanced at Alice. She was sitting alone, sipping wine. Sensing my gaze, she raised her glass to me. The soft lights glowed around her, and suddenly, I felt a warmth bloom in my chest. I threw myself into work even harder. After all, Alice had spent $5 million on me. Jessica? She kept calling Alice, trying to cancel the deal. Alice blocked her. Jessica called me too, still pretending to care, still demanding. I said I was sorry. I offered a refund. What more do you want? Nothing, I said. Just keep your promise and stay out of my life. One night, she called again. I picked up, irritated, but instead of yelling, she was crying. Ethan, my dad collapsed. Where's the medicine he takes? What do I do? As much as I disliked Mr. Lynn, this was life or death. In the left drawer, in the study, I said. Give him 2 pills. Then call an ambulance. I even told her to hand the phone to the doctor. I explained Mr. Lynn's condition and history to the paramedics. A few days later, Jessica called again. We're in Seville for treatment. My dad He wants to see you. Don't you think you should come to the hospital? I was about to say no, but then she added that she could give me the divorce papers while I was there after a moment's hesitation. I agreed to go. Jessica Lynn was waiting for me outside the general hospital entrance. The scare must have really gotten to her. She looked quite worn out. The moment she saw me, her eyes lit up as if she just found her anchor. Sobbing, she tried to throw herself into my arms. I quickly stepped back, gently holding her off. We're divorced now, Jessica, I said, polite but firm. This isn't appropriate. Jessica looked like she'd been struck, her eyes filled with sorrow. As she stared at me, I never signed the divorce papers, she whispered. I burned them. Then she kept going. Honey, I really know I was wrong this time. I took down that link already, and we can give the money back to Alice Mang. If she insists on a penalty fee for breaking the contract, I'll pay it. I need some time. All I want is to ask her to let you go, to ask you to come back to me. Please. I was speechless. You live and learn, they say. I couldn't believe I'd let Jessica trick me into coming here again. As if reading my mind, she quickly held up her fingers. This is the absolute last time. I swear. As she spoke, she suddenly dropped to her knees in front of me with a soft thud. I used to make you kneel to prove your love for me, she choked out. Now I'm kneeling for you. You were right. I did like you way back then. I was just too stubborn to admit it. Honey, can you please give me a chance to make things right? Hearing her words, I let out a short, humorless laugh. I reached down and helped Jessica back to her feet, thinking I had forgiven her. She flashed me a sweet smile, but I shook my head. We were both young and foolish back then. Jessica, I said softly. I realized later that love isn't something you prove by making someone kneel. I continued, if you truly love someone, that kind of act, it shouldn't even exist between you. Jessica Lynn's expression froze. I believed her. I thought she genuinely regretted her actions, but there are plenty of things in this world that regret simply can't fix. I gestured with the nutritional supplements I brought. Well, since I'm already here, I might as well go up and see your parents. When I entered the hospital room, Mr. Lynn was in the middle of cursing out Ryan Stone. That's when I found out why his condition had suddenly worsened. He'd been drinking alcohol and taking ginseng. He'd overdone it with the supplements and nearly killed himself. Seeing me enter, Mr. and Mrs. Lynn instinctively put on their usual airs, refusing to even look me in the eye. That lasted until the doctor standing nearby spoke up. With your condition, you're lucky it was managed so well these past few years, the doctor told Mr. Lynn. Otherwise, this episode could easily have been fatal. You can't afford to be so reckless again. He paused. By the way, who usually takes care of you at home? Mr. and Mrs. Lynn instinctively glanced at me, but stayed silent. Jessica pushed me forward slightly and announced loudly, it's usually my husband who takes care of him. The doctor nodded, giving me an approving look. Well, you got a good son-in-law then. It's not easy providing care like that. He then pulled me aside to discuss some specific points about Mr. Lynn's ongoing care and precautions. For the first time, Mr. and Mrs. Lynn finally showed a hint of shame on their faces. However, they didn't apologize to me directly. Instead, Mr. Lynn turned his anger back toward Ryan Stone. You see, Ethan Harper? Now look at yourself, you nearly killed me. He raged. And writing that letter, insulting my daughter, calling me an old coot who should just die already. How could you be so vicious, you brat? I raised an eyebrow, a small smile playing on my lips. So they saw that letter too. That letter Ryan Stone wrote back then was vicious. Not only did he say he didn't like Jessica Lynn, he also threatened her to stay away from him. Even worse, he cursed Jessica's father, wishing he'd die sooner, so he wouldn't be a burden to others. At the time, Jessica Lynn was already devastated because of her father's illness. That's why I did everything I could to intercept that letter. I glanced at Jessica's father, who was getting increasingly furious as he spoke, and her mother, whose face was etched with anger, and I couldn't help but smile. After being such ungrateful people for so long, getting this treatment now is exactly what they deserve. But what I didn't understand was Ryan Stone. Now that his true colors were revealed, why was he still shamelessly sticking around the Lynn family instead of leaving? It couldn't possibly be because he genuinely loved Jessica Lynn, could it? I couldn't be bothered getting involved in the Lynn family's drama. The gift had been delivered, so I quietly slipped out of the hospital room. By now, I'd pretty much settled in at Mang Corporation. My projects and work were all on track. As soon as I got back to the company, Alice Ming called me into her office, beaming, "That project of yours is progressing very well. I'm planning to assign you another important one. If you do a good job, you'll likely get promoted very soon. See? I told you my 5 million was well spent." I looked at her smiling eyes, and a warmth spread through my heart without me realizing it, but mentioning the 5 million, I couldn't help but urge her, "Thank you for helping me, but the 5 million really wasn't necessary. You should let Jessica Lynn refund you." Alice Ming paused. Her smile stiffened slightly, but she still nodded. "Okay, I understand." Alice Ming was incredibly efficient. I had just mentioned it to her at noon, and 2 hours later, she had already processed the refund. Worried Jessica Lynn might misunderstand, I sent her a message. "Alice Ming has agreed to the refund. But this doesn't mean I'm coming back. Even without this, we were going to divorce sooner or later anyway. Remember to sign the divorce papers and mail them to me." On the other end, the typing indicator kept appearing. But after waiting a while, no reply ever came. Still, a weight lifted off my chest, and I let out a long sigh of relief. At least I wouldn't owe Alice Ming a favor anymore. I decided to go up to the rooftop for some fresh air, but as soon as I got there, I heard someone crying. Though the sound was extremely quiet, I could still sense the person's deep sadness. Not wanting to disturb anyone, I turned to leave, but I accidentally caught sight of a slender figure. It was Alice Ming. The Alice Ming I knew was either cunning or flamboyant. I had never seen her look so vulnerable. Suddenly, I remembered her saying on the plane that a good cry could relieve stress. Could it be that she had secretly cried like this many times when no one was looking? For no reason, I suddenly felt a pang of sympathy for her. I stepped forward and offered her a tissue, not expecting to startle her. Alice Ming, her eyes red, said frantically, "Don't get the wrong idea. I'm just really stressed. Crying helps. It's not about anything else." I nodded, matter of fact, but after glancing at me furtively for a moment, she couldn't help asking, Are you going back to Jessica?" I froze. Then it hit me, she thought asking for the refund meant I was going back to Jessica Lynn. I laughed, speechless. "Do you really see me as some kind of commodity?" I asked you for the refund because I felt bad letting you waste your money like that. I've already made it clear to Jessica Lynn that we're divorcing. My career is finally taking off again, and I'm not about to walk away from it." Alice Ming finally stopped crying. She stared at me for a moment. "Really? So, you'll be single then?" I nodded blankly. "Then I can pursue you." Seeing Alice Ming's suddenly overjoyed face, I froze again. So, she really had liked me all along. She had come up to the college secretly, crying just now, because she thought I was leaving. In that instant, my heart completely melted. I thought I was foolish enough, but it turns out there's someone even more foolish in the world. Alice Ming, shedding her earlier dejection, reached out and playfully pinned me against the railing. She grinned like a domineering queen. "So just wait. You'll be mine sooner or later." From then on, Alice Ming actually started pursuing me. She'd ask me out to dinner and movies whenever she was free and send me cheesy pickup lines she found somewhere. Yet she was extremely serious when it came to work. When I occasionally reminded her to stop sending those lines, she'd lecture me sternly, "Don't discuss personal feelings during work hours," making it seem like I was the unprofessional one. One day, Alice Ming asked me out to dinner again. It was supposed to be a pleasant meal until I noticed the Lynn family sitting not far away. It seemed Mr. Lynn's condition had improved, so they were out celebrating. Ryan Stone was with them, bustling about ordering food and pouring water. But Mrs. Lynn looked utterly disgusted. "Oh, my husband is just recovering. He can't eat this heavy, oily, spicy stuff. How many times do I have to tell you before you remember? Useless. And you brag to us about having connections, about being able to cure illnesses. Let me ask you, where are these connections? You're useless and full of lies. How can we possibly entrust our daughter to you? I think Ethan Harper was better. Good thing we chose her back then. It's all your fault. I wonder when my son-in-law will come back." Ryan Stone received a solid eye roll from Mrs. Lynn, but he just swallowed his anger, suppressing the fleeting glint of malice in his eyes. How the tables have turned. It's only been a few months, and Ryan Stone's and my positions have completely reversed. But I didn't feel particularly happy. I just found it ironic. Jessica Lynn looked irritated, unwilling to even glance at Ryan Stone anymore. Instead, she gazed around blankly. Inadvertently, our eyes met. Her eyes lit up for a second, but then she saw Alice Ming beside me. Her face instantly turned pale. I suddenly remembered what Alice said at the airport, how she'd secretly liked me back then. Jessica had mocked her, saying someone like me could never possibly fall for her. I knew all too well how cruel Jessica could be. How must Alice have felt carrying that silent affection while being humiliated like that? Before I could even think, my body moved on its own, right in front of Jessica. I reached out and took Alice's hand. Jessica's eyes widened in disbelief. Slowly, that disbelief turned to heartbreak. Her features crumpled with despair. Alice looked down at our hands, then back up at me, clearly surprised. It finally registered what I'd done, and I quickly tried to pull away. But she held on tight, her grin mischievous. "What's this?" she asked teasingly. "Feeling sorry for me? Trying to stand up for me?" I didn't respond, but my face flushed bright red. Taking that as confirmation, she leaned in close to my ear and whispered, "Ethan Harper, you're done for. You've fallen in love with me." I wanted to deny it desperately. But Alice, shaped and sharpened by years in the business world, was too good at reading people. Any denial I gave her would have been useless. So I said nothing. As we passed Jessica's table, I couldn't help but lean in and whisper to her, "Be careful of Ryan Stone. Something about him feels off." Jessica's gaze flickered uncertainly, but she said nothing. She just sat there, watching me walk away, her eyes distant and dazed. Maybe I jinxed it by saying anything. Sure enough, just 2 days later, I got a video call from Ryan Stone. He had a knife pressed against Jessica's throat. "Ethan Harper," he sneered, "aren't you supposed to still be in love with her? Well, she's in my hands now. Give me the $5 million and I'll let her go. Otherwise," he chuckled darkly, "you'll never see her again." Jessica looked terrified, tears streaming down her face as she sobbed, "Honey, save me." I stayed silent for a long moment. Then I laughed. "Then go ahead and kill her. It has nothing to do with me anymore." Both Ryan and Jessica froze. Ryan's grip on the knife faltered, looking suddenly unsure of himself. Jessica stared at me with wide, tear-filled eyes full of disappointment and despair. I gave her a helpless, weary smile. "You swore, Jessica. Back at the hospital you swore that was the last time you'd lie to me." Jessica's expression shifted instantly. A flash of guilt danced in her eyes. On the screen, I noticed the ropes supposedly tying her hands were absurdly loose. And through the barely open door, I saw Mr. and Mrs. Lynn peeking out. They were all in on it. She fooled me once, then twice. But I couldn't let her get away with it a third time. "You must realize by now," I said gently, "there's no chance for us anymore." Jessica's face went pale. I hung up before she could respond. I found out later that Jessica had actually listened to my warning. She discovered Ryan had a track record of leeching off rich women only to be tossed aside each time. He was deep in debt. Hearing that Jessica was doing relatively well financially, he had targeted his old childhood friend. But Jessica, foolish as ever, thought staging a fake kidnapping would prove I still cared about her. She paid Ryan $200,000 to help her pull it off. When I didn't fall for the bait, things unraveled fast. Jessica refused to pay Ryan the rest. Her parents berated him relentlessly. Humiliated and furious, Ryan shoved back in a rage, accidentally knocking Mr. Lynn to the ground. Having just been released from the hospital, the old man didn't survive. Ryan panicked. Forgetting about the money, he fled a fugitive. He didn't get far. He was arrested a few days later and sentenced to 5 years. Jessica was devastated. After the funeral, she took her mother home. A few days later, I finally received the divorce papers. The moment I got them, I slammed them down on Alice's desk. "You were right." Alice blinked. "Huh? What was I right about?" "I'm done." I said. "I've fallen in love with you." She had secretly loved me for so long. She must have been watching my situation closely, because she bought the listing the instant Jessica posted it. When she made that purchase, she couldn't have known whether I was in a happy marriage or not. She just took a chance, rolled the dice. She even used coupons to get a discount. And she only bought my time until I reached retirement age. Honestly, it's no exaggeration to say she saved my life. A woman that devoted, that clever, and yet so brave in her solitude. How could I not fall for her? Alice beamed, her eyes crinkled with joy. "I knew that already," she said. "Besides, you belong to me now. I bought a lifetime claim on you, remember?" I laughed. "You only bought 40 years, until I'm 67. What's the difference?" "It's A huge difference. I don't plan on just living to 67. Okay, she conceded with a teasing grin. When you turn 67, you can belong to yourself again. But until then, you're all mine. Then her expression shifted. Also, Mr. Harper, she said with mock seriousness, it's currently work hours. Perhaps we shouldn't be discussing personal matters. The rest of her sentence vanished into a kiss. Outside the window, new buds were blooming on the peach trees. Another beautiful spring had arrived.